Hey guys, so today you and I are going to talk about respect. So let's get into it. So the question in question was, Frederick, I feel disrespected at work. Could someone pay you to be disrespected? Well, that pretty much depends on what we talk about. So I sort of don't really think so much about respect, not respect. Well, as I said, it depends on what we're talking about. If you're talking about having some person think highly of me, then I could not care less usually, because the people that matter to me, I already have their respect, and the people who don't matter, I value their opinion so little that they might as well not exist in the first place. Uh, and I suggest that you approach this thing the same sort of way, because the thing that matters to me when I work in a place of work, I mean, I've been in places of work where it's been very stressful, and I've had people who had a low opinion of me, etc., etc. And in the beginning of things, when I was a lot younger, there was stress because I had this anxiety that I wanted to prove myself to certain people and so forth and so forth. And I'm lucky enough to have done enough living now that I've gotten to a point where I don't feel I have to prove anything to anybody anymore. And that is a magical moment, because when you get to that point, you realize that actually, as long as you have the ability to walk away from a situation, no one can touch you practically. It's great, because, as I said, for me, a person who behaves inappropriately or disrespects me in some fashion, uh, it's like talking to a lesser being, or walking right through smoke. It's just something where I sit and I wait, usually, depending on of the situation, of course. If I have to go through it, I just wait it out, and then I move on with my day, because I have so much other stuff going on and so many amazing things in my life that I don't even mind so much. So if they pay me, like, let's say that they pay an outlandish amount of money, and all the other things are in place, like, because I don't really, as I said, I don't think that there is such a thing as just having a perfect situation where everybody has a high opinion of you. And that's sort of, I'm going to touch on that as well, about people who ask for respect or say that they feel disrespected. So if all the other things are where they should be, and I'm having fun with all the other coworkers or so forth, assuming I'm not getting bullied or anything like that, then I don't really mind if I have one or two assholes in my life who don't respect me, because in my opinion, at the very least, I've always found that the people who complain about getting respect are usually people who are not worthy of it. That's not always true, but there's a difference between being mistreated, in my opinion, and being disrespected. Giving someone respect is something that you do usually as a person if you actually feel that way, in my opinion. It's similar to loving someone. You cannot force a person to feel love for you, nor can you force a person to respect you, because it's something that they have to earn. But at the end of the day, in order for you to treat another human decently, and that's where the line gets a little bit blurry sometimes for people, there's a difference between, in my opinion at the very least, there's a difference between getting a fair treatment and getting respect. Fair treatment we should provide to every single person on this planet, I think. Everybody, I mean animals included. Like, always act in a decent manner towards other creatures, whoever they might be. Always, I'm a numbers guy, right? So I always love to say, choose the lesser evil. Minimize suffering, minimize all that stuff as much as humanly possible. And you're probably going to find that most of the time you're doing the right sort of things, right? But giving someone respect and treating them as someone who is of value or so forth, that's really, in my opinion, that's a mutual thing, right? If you are a person who is not worthy of respect, then I'm sorry, you are not worthy of respect, and that is really up to you. And I know that sounds really harsh, but at the end of the day, it's sort of like, asking people to feel or consider things a way that it's not really true. An example would be, sure, we can say that everybody is, I mean, like athletes or whatever. Like, imagine if we had a movement. We have a lot of different political movements these days, but imagine where's the movement for never ever calling out that an enormously obese person is not, physically fit, or like it's not healthy or something like that. There are absolutely people who will claim that fat is beautiful, and sure, you're entitled to your opinion, but all scientific data points to that having too much body weight is bad for you. It's an unhealthy thing, and it has a lot of repercussions if you don't have a certain level of control over how much you eat. This weekend, so it's the same sort of deal. Like, we can indulge people who want to believe something else, just as we can indulge flat earthers and so forth. But that's really up to us, like to everybody around them. And at the end of the day, it's sort of like whoever has ever been in a position where, unfortunately, popular opinion or circumstances forces them to say or behave or comment in a way that they don't actually feel. Sure, you can force people to say what you want them to say. That doesn't change how they feel about you. And so if you are being disrespected, you really have to ask yourself why. Why are you being disrespected? Is it because you feel like you are owed respect for something? Or is it that you have people who are actually mistreating you? Because if you're being mistreated, then my principle of having the ability to always walk away is probably your best bet here, because you can absolutely say, I'm going to stand up for myself. And some people will give you that advice, and I say this: the only time you are certain that standing up for yourself is a good idea is in kids movies, Nickelodeon and Disney types of cartoons. Because in the fairy tales and the stories, standing up for yourself in popular culture usually means that you put your bully straight because you've stood up to them and therefore they're going to go away. Reality is that you don't really know what's going to happen. Standing up for yourself can be suicide depending on what you do. And standing up for yourself might be the perfect thing to do. I like to tell people this: rather than just blindly following some ideology about how to behave morally and what is considered cowardly and what's considered brave, try to be clever instead. I like to say, go and watch those nature documentaries between predator and prey and their behavior, how they behave based on their position in the hierarchy. And you'll see that, a fish might not be able to take on a shark head on, but you can still beat the shark. It just happens to be so that you have to be clever to do so. And to us humans, that seems to be cowardly behavior, but the reality is that if you look at historically military tactics and different things like that, there are a lot of quote-unquote non-brave methods of winning a war or a confrontation or whatever. There are so many ways of winning, and at the end of the day, you have to ask yourself: do you want to play by rules and that might actually end up poorly for you, or do you want to win? And so I kind of throw it back to you and say, if you are being mistreated, that's one thing, and how you are going to solve that is really down to: do you have the courage to stand up to whoever is mistreating you? Do you actually want to take that risk? If you do you have the ability to actually do so? If you don't, then that's okay as well. Can you isolate yourself from this person? There's so many ways to solve this problem, so it's kind of impossible for me to give you concrete tips on how to deal with this situation. So what I want you to take away from this is that, well, yeah, you could pay me to disrespect me, depending on what that means. If you're going to pay me an absurd amount of money just so that you can say that, I don't know, I'm ugly or something like that, go ahead. I can send you my banking account numbers and we'll have a session together. I'll sit with tea and everything, and then you can just, can pay me by the hour. And if I can give any piece of advice to anybody who feels disrespected, it is really to consider that point. Dealing with a bully or dealing with people who mistreat you is a bit different from respect. Respect is something that you earn, and in many cases it might be that you're trying to earn the respect of people who are not really worthy of it in the first place. So it's really, again, about you. Why do you care about their respect? is it important to you? But if they're mistreating you, it's the bully problem. You can stand up and fight them head on, and that is a viable strategy, and if that is the way you want to deal with it, go for it. But you can also be a clever little fish and go about it a different way. So it's really up to you how to deal with it, because there are many ways to win a confrontation, and not all of them has to end with you fighting or things like that. You can actually do many things. And so I suggest to people in general to always put themselves in a position where they can walk away, and that can mean many things. As I like to tell people, make sure that you have enough money so that you can quit if you want to. Make sure that you have, other people, other things going on in your life that makes you emotionally happy or so forth. I mean, I even have a little overnight bag where I know if I need to just walk out of my apartment or go somewhere else or camp in the woods or something like that, I can do that, because for me it's all about being able to walk away if I want to. That doesn't mean that I don't want to be a part of things. I think that you should try to be part of this human experience that we all have and do as much as possible that makes you happy. But it's always good that when things are not going your way, and if fighting is not an option, you should always have that option so that you can walk away if you want to, because otherwise you're dependent, and dependency is bad when you can't do something about it, because that ends in suffering. If you have no choice and you can't fight and do anything else, you just have to kind of sit there and go through it, which is usually not so fun for you. So that is my suggestion to you. Try to make yourself independent. Try to figure out which course of action to take here. And if you want to disrespect me for a hefty amount of money, go ahead. Let's make it happen. Have a great day.